Everyone, welcome to a new video. So in this video, we're going to discuss about what are some commonly asked SDET coding interview questions. And why I'm creating this video is like I have seen a lot of people are approaching me on LinkedIn and on as well as on TopMate that why SDET interviews are more aligned towards now coding, and why do we need to practice that hard or like so much coding now. Okay, so since 2025, like it started in January, right? So I have given almost 10 interviews now, and this is not a made up thing. And I have been rejected in two companies in last 2 months. Okay, due to only the coding round failure. Okay, I was rejected due to coding test. I was not able to clear that, so obviously the further rounds didn't happen. And one of the companies, NAB, National Australian Bank, if you have heard about it. So I was giving the interview for the Gurugram location, that is in a cyber hub, right? So I was unable to clear the coding test. The coding test was given through Codility. Okay, they sent me a link, and then obviously I appeared for the test. They had three questions in that, and most of the questions were algorithmic based. So if you have heard about the terms like divide and conquer, greedy algorithm, dynamic programming, search and sorting are basic algorithms. So you should know that, like binary search or quick sort, selection sort, merge sort. So we should know this. And the questions were based on divide and conquer, dynamic programming, and greedy algorithm. Although I knew how does greedy and divide and conquer works, but I didn't know much about dynamic programming. So I was unable to write the program for the third question that they have, and obviously I didn't clear it because the passing percentage was 70%, and I failed in that exam, due to which I got to know like how much coding is required now for SDET interviews more specifically now. And like since 2025, the companies which I've given interviews, right, they mostly focus now on coding, because obviously like in upcoming 1 or 2 years, most of the companies will require someone who can integrate AI into their test automation frameworks. Okay, more specifically. And if they need someone like that, then obviously we should know how much that much coding more clear those coding challenges. To prepare for such coding challenges, this video is being recorded, and I think that this video will definitely help you to give some heads up about what are some things that you should know, you should learn and practice more around it. So obviously, like to start with this video, I will be discussing some few of the coding challenges. So in this like in this particular document, I have 5 different problem statements. I will be discussing about 3, and rest 2 will be given as assignment. So if you practice, and you can share those solutions in the comment section, and obviously we will collaborate as a community. Everyone can review the solution, then we can suggest better alternatives if there are. Okay. So the primary goal will be to create or write a solution first to the problem, and then obviously we can improve its time complexity and space complexity, and we will collaborate as a community. Okay, in that. So if you write the code, then definitely post your code in the comment section. I will review, and others will also review who are watching the video, and then obviously we can collaborate further. So let's start with the video. As you can see on the adjacent pair grouping. Okay, and in this, what we need to do is write a function even sum that processes an array of integers by examining adjacent pairs of element. The function should count how many non-overlapping pairs with an even sum can be formed while traversing the array from left to right. Okay, non-overlapping basically means the number of elements that we find in an array. Okay, let me just scroll down of the example. Okay, so this is the example 4258737. Okay, and we need to find the even sum. Okay, so if we are trying to find the even sum, let me just scroll up a little bit. Yeah, so we need to find the even sum. So if we add 4 plus 2, so that will definitely add up to a even sum, right? But once we use these two elements 4 and 2, we need not to use it again. So that is what non-overlapping means. Okay, so we need to skip these two elements and move to the third one. Suppose like I am on index number 0, and I'm pointing to index number 1 as well to add these two values, right? So once I use these two values, then I need to move to the index number 2. That is the challenge. Okay, so I hope you understand the problem. Now let's try to code this one. I will move this to my left. Okay, and we will bring back my IntelliJ IDEA over here. Okay, and let's open the project again, and let's create a new class over here. name it like even sum. Okay, let's just quickly write public static void main. So this, like, I am writing this code directly in IntelliJ because obviously I am recording a video. So if you are trying this for the first time, then I would highly encourage you to use your notepad or something like notepad, write it manually through pen and paper, and then come back to your code editor and write it. Okay, this will definitely improve your logic building. I have been using this technique to improve my logic building a lot. Okay, so I hope this will also help you. So let's just quickly write the function name. So we need to return the output as, okay, so we need to return an integer output. So public static int, okay, and we will find even sum. So let's just try and name it like this, and we are just accepting an input in the form of array. So we'll name it like nums. Okay, so this is my function. Now first thing first, we need to write a counter. Okay, so let me just help you understand the problem a little bit better. So this is the input array. Okay, that is what we are using. So if you read this challenge 4258737, so this is the input array 425878737. So what we currently need to do is we will be creating a for loop. Okay, and we will be pointing to the first index that will basically I equal to 0. So I will be pointing on this index. Let me just write that as well, make you better understand. Okay, so this is my I index, and I will be using a condition in which it will also check for I plus 1 element. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just move this arrow a little bit here, and let's just duplicate this as well and write it like I plus 1. Okay, so I will be using a if condition. Okay, so the for loop will be iterating through the array. Okay, so I will be incremented in each iteration, and then I will be using I plus 1 in my if condition. Okay, to make sure that it adds up both the values. Okay, if these two values are added and modulo 2 equal to 0, okay, if that value, if the addition of these two values modulus 2, okay, if that modulo 2 is equal to 0, if that value is both becomes equal, right, then I will execute my if condition. That is what the first problem statement is. And then once I am able to find these two elements, if these two elements add up to a even sum, then I need to increment this I variable in such a way that it moves to the second index. Okay, basically to the value 5. Okay, that is how I need to do it. So this is the primary challenge that we need to solve. If we are able to solve this, then obviously we have solved the problem. So if you have some logic in your mind, then I would highly suggest to pause the video and then write your logic, and then we will obviously discuss in the problem in the video. Okay, so let's just quickly write the for loop. Int I equals 0, I will be less than nums dot length I plus plus. Okay, and then once we increment this value, right, once we increment this value, we need to make sure to write a if condition in which I will check nums at ith index plus nums at I plus 1. Okay, already the code which I have written, right, it has an issue. If I try to compile this code, it will fail. Okay, if you are able to find that issue, then please comment down the video. Okay, it will be helpful to a lot of people. So if that is, so these two value will be added. So once we add, right, we need to add a parenthesis because modulo operator has a greater precedence than addition. Okay, so we need to add parenthesis and then modulo 2, that is equal to 0. Okay, that is what the code looks like. Once this is done, okay, once this is done, then what we need to do is we need to obviously create a counter variable, and this will be int counter will be pointing to equal to 0. That is what we need to do, right, to check. Okay, so the number of times it is able to find the even sum, that is how we will record the counter variable. Okay, so each time it is able to find a even sum, counter will be incremented. Okay, now if you understand the problem till now, what we need to do is to make sure that I variable moves to the second index value. That condition will be added in this if condition itself. Okay, so I hope you understood the problem and you have created some logic over here. So we just need to increment, but what we need to do, we need to pre-increment the I value. Okay, so that basically what will happen now, once we, if I try to add this system.out.println over here, and I will try to run this as well. Okay, once this is done, then what I will do, I will just return counter variable. Okay, that is what we need to do. And I will just quickly go and copy the input value from here. Okay, let's just write the array, and that is what we need to do. And then I will write a system.out.println statement. Arrays. Okay, so we are just returning an integer value, so we need to write that. So even sum, and we will send the nums value. Okay, now let's just try to run this and see what happens. Okay, I hope you got the problem which I told, right? So if we try to execute the for loop over here in this way, because we are checking for nums with I plus 1 value, it will definitely throw us an exception with array index out of bound exception. Okay, so over here we need to add a -1 value. Okay, because what will happen is, let me just bring back this. Okay, so now what will happen, once I reaches this 5th index value, okay, so I will point to this 5th index, but I plus 1 will check for the 6th index value. Okay, and once I reaches to the 6th index, right, then I plus 1 value will check for 7th index, which does not exist in this array. Okay, because the size of the array is 7. Okay, and the last index will be 6, so that is why it will throw an array index out of bound exception. Okay, so I hope you got that exception earlier. And now if we try to run this again, it will work as fine. Okay, it will not give any exceptions. Okay, now to explain you the solution. Okay, let me just quickly add, make sure that you are able to understand the output of the program and the debugging that we are doing. Okay, so this is a debugging statement, if you understand correctly. If we now try to run this again, so basically what we'll do, output is 2. Okay, so that is what it is expected. Okay, if you read the problem statement again, now this 0 2 3 4 is basically the counter, the iteration that is happening with the for loop. Okay, so what will happen, once it is able to find a even sum, the counter variable is incremented, correct? And when with this I will be incremented. So if you read it correctly over here, I value is 0. Okay, I value is 0, and when it is on 0th index, it will use 4, and I plus 1 will point to 2 value. Okay, so it will go inside. So basically I value is 0 over here, but when it is pre-incremented, it will be 1. Okay, and now when it goes inside the for loop again to increment its value, it will become 2. That is why first iteration value is 0, second iteration value is 2. Okay, similarly, when it does not find an even sum, so when it goes to this second index value and it checks for 5 plus 8, okay, 5 plus 8 is not an even sum, because I will be here, I plus 1 will be here. Okay, and 5 plus 8 is not an even sum, so it will just normally move to the next item, or like next index. Okay, so it will move to the index number 3. That is why it is pointed to index number 3 value. Okay, we just go back. Okay, so that is why it says index 3. Similarly, it will move to the next index 4, and then it will find another similar even sum, that is 7 and 3. That is why it did not print that value, that is the index 4, not print the value with index 6 and index 5, because it skipped it, because we have added this pre-increment value. Okay, so that is how the program logic works. I hope you understand this one. Now let's just move to another problem and try to solve that too. Okay, I hope you are enjoying this video and you are able to understand something new, because I usually enjoy solving coding problems, but sometimes the luck is not with us, so that's why we get rejected, we get failures. Okay, but we need not to accept those failures. We need to learn more, we need to improve our knowledge so that we can improve ourselves and get better and better day by day. Okay, so this is the problem statement. If you read this, reverse letters only. Okay, and write a function reverse letters that reverses only the alphabetic characters in a string while keeping all non-alphabetic characters, digits, symbols, spaces in their original positions. Okay, so if we scroll down a little bit, you will see a string input containing mix of alphabetic and non-alphabetic characters will be given to us, and we need to output a new string where only alphabetic characters are reversed with non-alphabetic characters remain in place. In place means that whatever value we have, we need to use that same array and we need to update the value. Okay, that is what we need to do, in place. Okay, so this, whenever we see this keyword, okay, we need to make sure that when whatever input we are receiving in the form, like suppose we are receiving an input in the form of array, we are receiving input in the form of string. Okay, so the variable str is there, or maybe array variable that is nums is there. Okay, so we need to use the same input variable, okay, to update our values. We need not to create another new variable and then return it. Okay, that is what in place means. Okay, so I hope I am able to make you clear that concept. Example is basically we are getting this input as 1ab2 and we need to output it as 1ba2. Okay, so let's just go to the code editor again and create a new class. We'll name it as reverse letters only. Okay, let's just create new public static void main function. Okay, and then let's create a new function that will return us. So basically we need to return a string value. Okay, so okay, fine, public static string reverse accept an input in the form of str variable, and that is what we are going to do. Okay, so to explain you the problem better, I will just create a visual representation again. So let's just bring it here. Okay, so now if you see, right, we have this. So basically whatever string value we will be getting, we will convert that to an array. So obviously we will convert that to char array. Okay, so once we convert that to char array, that is how it will be represented inside the memory, 1a b 2. Okay, and we'll be having indexes, that is 0 1 2 3. Now these two arrows will help us to understand the problem better now. Okay, so if we read the problem, we need to make sure that only the letters are reversed. Okay, only the letters, that is a b are reversed, so it will become ba. So to reverse this, we need to use two pointer approach. So basically whenever we are trying to reverse, okay, we are trying to write a program to reverse something, whether it's an array, whether it's a string. Okay, we need to, most of the time we need to use a two pointer approach. That is what we can make sure of. So if we are using a two pointer approach, basically what will happen, we will create two variables. Okay, one will be a left variable. Okay, second one will be a right variable. Okay, so if you read this correctly, right, we need to make sure that our left variable points to index 0, and we need to make sure that right variable will be pointing to the last index value, that is 3. Okay, so let's just try to write this code. Okay, over here, so if I create a new variable that is left, okay, I will point it to 0 because array index start from 0. Okay, now to create a right variable, we need to make sure that it points to the last variable, that is str.length minus 1. Okay, that is how we need to start coding. And now secondly, we need to convert our string to a char array so that we can iterate through it. Okay, so to check this one, we need to use ch, that is char. Okay, and then we will be using this square brackets, and then we can name it like char, or maybe name it like str array. Okay, something like this. And then we will convert our string to we can also add one condition. Okay, I forgot to tell you. So if suppose sometimes if we have a case sensitive solution, okay, so we can, if like one a is capital and b is in small case, then we need to use a lowercase value. Over here in this example, we are not having any case sensitive values. Okay, so we can still add lowercase over here if we want. Okay, but if you do not want, we can skip this. So currently I'm skipping it, but if you want, you can still use it. Okay, so now to convert this array or string value to char, okay, to char array, we need to use a method that is to char array. Now this will be used, and this will convert the string to a char array. Now to iterate through the values, we will be using a while loop. I will explain this logic why I'm using a while loop and not a for loop. Okay, so we will keep this left less than right, and we will be incrementing and decrementing both of these left and right pointers once we find a solution. Okay, so if you read this problem again, okay, to make sure that one AB2 is reversed to one BA2, we need to write the code in such a way that if we do not find a letter, okay, then left is incremented. Similarly, if we do not find a letter on the right pointer, we decrement its value. Okay, so that right will point to 2 and left will be incremented, and then it will point to 1. Okay, and if we find the letter, then we will reverse it. Okay, so we need to swap the values of left and right pointers. That is what we need to do. Okay, so to write this logic, we need to, okay, so now to write the if condition, we'll be using character dot is letter method. Okay, so this method will help us to check whether a character or a letter exists or not. Okay, so how we will write it? So we will use our char array, that is strarr. Okay, and we will use our left pointer to check this condition. Okay, and to write this condition in a better way, I will tell you how it works. Okay, so if we are able to find a letter, okay, we will swap the value, but right now we need to make sure that it is unable to find a letter. So we'll use a negate or a not condition. So if it is not able to find the letter, then left will be incremented. That is what we discussed, right? So over here, if I go back, if you see, right, 1 is not a letter. Then if we do not find a letter, we need to increment this pointer, right? So now it should point to 1 index. So that is what we are doing over here. We are just incrementing. So if character dot is letter is not a letter, because we have added a negate sign, then left will be incremented. Similarly, we will do a similar thing for right pointer as well. I hope you understand this condition. So not character dot is letter, okay, str right pointer now. Okay, and then what we'll do, sorry, array found. Okay, so we have used a incorrect variable. Okay, so now we need to decrement our right pointer. Okay, because similarly, if we do not find a letter over here, we need to move this right pointer to the next index value, that is 2. Right, so that is what it is. Now if similarly, now if both of these conditions fail, then we need to perform a swap. Okay, so over here I will use a temp variable, that is char type. Okay, and I will store my strarr value, suppose of left variable over here, and then I will update my strarr left pointer value with the right pointer value. Okay, right. Okay, and once this is done, then we will update our str right pointer value as well. Okay, now let's just write this quickly. Okay, so that is how it works. Now similarly, once we are able to update or swap these value, we need to add two more statements in this. If you have got the logic, then what we need to do is to repeat this process further. Okay, once left is pointing, just give me a second. Once left is pointing here, right, and right is pointing over here, we need to still increment this pointer and decrement this pointer so that it keeps on iterating throughout our array. Okay, but what will happen when it will try to bypass log, like suppose left will try to move to the second index value and right will try to move to the first index value, our while condition will fail. Okay, because left should be less than right, so it will not try to execute beyond this system. Okay, for this particular input array. But if the input array is changed, right, then similarly we need to update our left pointer, basically increase its value, and update our right pointer, decrease its value. Okay, so we will increment this pointer and we will decrement this pointer. Okay, I hope you got this logic. Now this is done. Okay, now these values are updated. Now if you read this char array, so whatever values that we have updated, now we need to convert that value to a string value. Okay, so how can we do it? We need to return and then we need to type new string and we can pass our str array. Okay, so that is how we can return a new string value from here. And now what we need to do, we just need to quickly send our inputs. Let me just go to the PDF over here, copy this input string. Okay, and let's keep it like str equal to value, and then let's just write this quickly, system.out.println, call our function that is reverse, and obviously try to name your function in a better way. I am recording just a video, that's why I'm trying to not following all the best practices. Okay, otherwise we should name it like reverse letter or name it like reverse only letter. Okay, then we'll use reverse, automatically use this one. And now let's try to execute this one. So this is what the output is expected. And now if we try to change this output, okay, now let's suppose we keep it like this. Okay, and we try to change this to A B one more time. Okay, now let's try to run this and see how it works. Okay, we didn't update this one. Okay, so now let's try to run this. I hope this works as expected. Okay, fine. So we sent one AABB2 and we get one BBAA2. Okay, so that is how this particular increment and decrement will help us to do. Okay, so I hope you got this logic. Okay, so this is a two sum problem, the most famous one and being asked mostly in the interviews now. Write a function sum that finds a pair of element in an array that adds up to a specified target sum. If such a pair exists, then obviously we need to print the indexes. So this is the input that we will be getting. Okay, and this is also the second input, like expected sum and input array will be receiving, and this is the output that we expect, okay, to print. And if I scroll down a little bit, you will see an example. Okay, so for input array 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 5 and target sum is 4, the function should print indexes are 0 2, values are 1 3. So just to give you a brief overview, how does it work? Okay, so I will move to this section, and this you can see this is the array and these are the indexes. Okay, so basically what we need to do is we need to check each index, okay, and add it to a sum. If that sum is equal to the expected sum, then we need to print the indexes. Okay, so we need to return an array. That is how it works. So I've already opened one online Java compiler. Okay, and if you are practicing, then I would highly suggest not to use your IDE and use some online Java compiler, or use Notepad if you want. Okay, so that it does not give you auto suggestions and you fail, or when you run the code you get some exceptions, you get some errors, and then you resolve them. Okay, that will definitely give you better hands-on. So let's start with it. So this is the main function. I would not be writing my function in this. I will be creating a new function. Okay, so public static int, what can I name? ToSum. Let's name it as ToSum. Okay, and I will be expecting an input array. I can name it as nums, and I will be expecting another expected sum. Okay, and this is my function. Let me make it a little big in size. Okay, can we resize this one? Okay, we are unable to. Okay, so this is the function that I'm creating, and obviously if I want to run this, then obviously I need to first create a new array. Okay, or I can do it like return. Obviously let's start with the loop first. So obviously we are going to use a for loop to iterate through the elements. Okay, so I've already shown that this is the input array. Okay, and these are the indexes. So from this, like, I will be creating int I equal to 0. So first we will start with the 0th index value, and then we will keep it like whatever the input array is, like its name is nums, so I will keep it like nulth. Okay, nums dot length, so I will be less than nums dot length. Okay, so whatever the last, so nums dot length will basically return us what? The total length of the array. So length of the array is 4 elements, so I should be less than 4 because the last index is always 3 over here. Okay, so that is why we are keeping I less than nums dot length. So basically I will start from 0th index and then it will iterate till 3. Okay, and then we will increment it. And in this, what we need to do is we need to check whether, so this is our input array. Okay, and if you read the problem carefully, an array of integers, the indexes of 2 elements that add up to the target sum, the values of these 2 elements. Okay, so this is what the output that we expect. Write a function that sum that finds a pair of elements in an array that adds up to a specified target sum. Okay, so if you read this carefully, we need to write 2 for loops because we need to iterate and check each value one by one. So basically what we'll do is we will be iterating. So first, like, I will be pointing to this location. So let me just move this arrow here. Okay, and then let's just move it here. Okay, so this is my I. Okay, and then I will be creating another, more specifically over here. Okay, so this is my I variable, and I variable will be pointing to the first index, that is 0 value. And then what I will do, I will duplicate this, and more precisely I will be creating another for loop. Okay, in that for loop I will be using a variable known as j, or whatever variable you can keep. Okay, so this variable will be pointing to the next element. Okay, so I plus 1 it will check. Okay, so basically whenever I is pointing to 0 index, j will be pointing to the next one, that is 1. Suppose like now I is incremented to 1, so j will be pointing to the second index. That is how we need to iterate now. Okay, through the array. So obviously when we do this, so we need to create the variable first. Okay, and we will keep it like I plus 1, and then we will keep like j less than nums dot length. Okay, and j will be incremented after each iteration. So this is our for loop now. These are 2 for loops. Okay, do not worry about the time complexity, space complexity now. Obviously we are using 2 for loops, and the time complexity turns out to be big O of n square. Obviously we can create better solutions. So currently I am just helping you to understand the problem and create a relevant solution first. Okay, so in this, like, if I will check, so now what I'll do, I'll check nums at ith index. Okay, then I will add it to nums with jth index. If this value, okay, so first like we need to check this one, and we are finding a even sum. Okay, so what we'll do, we will try to divide, or like we will add a modulus operator, and then we will keep 2, and then we will check if it is equal to 0. If suppose like now nums I and nums j, so in this location if we go, so 1 plus 2 if we check, so this is 3. So when 3 is there and 3 modulus 2 equal to 0, no, so it's false, right? So it will not execute this particular condition, and then it will move to the next iteration. Okay, suppose like if we find it, then we need to just go and return. So we will type return new int. Okay, create the square brackets, and we'll create an array in which I will send I and j index. We'll close this. And now suppose if I am unable to find the relevant indexes, or like there is no value which adds up to a even sum, so then we need to close this with a new return statement in which we will write return new int with square brackets and then curly braces in which I'll type like 0. So if 0 is printed, that means I am unable to find a even sum. Okay, so this is what the code looks like. If you have any questions regarding the code which I have written, you can definitely post that in comments. Okay, I will help you to understand it in better way. So if we try to iterate it now, suppose just to give an example, 0 plus 1 is not an even sum. Okay, so like 1 plus 2 is not an even sum, then we will move to 1 plus 3. Okay, so now when j is incremented to the next position, that is second index, now we will add, because I has not been incremented now. Okay, because we are inside the internal loop. Okay, so this loop will be first executed until j reaches the last index value. Till then this for loop will be executed. Okay, so that basically means I will stay on the 0th index and j will be incremented to the last index. Okay, so from 1 it will move to the 2 second index, and then we will add 1 plus 3. So 1 plus 3 is an even sum. Okay, so it will execute this condition now. Okay, so 4 modulus 2 equal to, obviously it is equal to 0. Then we will return this value. Okay, are you getting? So I hope you understand the problem now. So now what I'll do, now I will just go and quickly create one new array int, let me just create it, nums equal to, okay, so I will input same values as this 1 2 3 5. Okay, 2 3 and 5, and now what I'll do, I'll print it to system.out.println. okay, and I will call this particular function. Okay, just check, I will copy this particular function now, and once I do this, then obviously we need to send the array, that is nums, and the expected sum, that is expected sum is, let's scroll down a little bit, what sum does it expect? So it expects the sum to be, target sum to be 4. So we'll do this one and we'll close this statement. Now let's try to run this code. Let's see if it is working fine. Okay, so now if you see this, we have made a silly mistake. I have just tried to print the array reference itself. Okay, so this definitely will not give us the actual value, it prints the reference. Okay, so to print the array value, we need to do arrays dot toString, and then I will type the function. Okay, inside that I will send the nums array with the expected sum, that is 4. Okay, and now I will try to execute this. Okay, system.out.println, I think it is unable to fetch this particular class. Okay, let's try to open another Java compiler. Facing issues while executing the code on online compiler. So basically I have set up my IntelliJ IDEA in the Windows machine now, and what basically I've done is I have just updated the code and added it to my IntelliJ. Okay, I haven't changed anything. So let me bring back the code challenge again, okay, so that we can understand the problem again once again. So basically what we need to do is we need to match the target sum, okay, and to match the target sum we need to update this piece of code, okay. So instead of modulo 2 and this checking, we need to just check whether it is equal to not target sum, okay. That is what we are here to check, or expected sum, that is what we need to check. And now if we try to run this code, okay, so if it is able to find the expected sum, then we will obviously return the indexes of those, and if it is unable to find it, then we will return 0, okay. That is what it is. And now let me try to run this code and let's see how it works. And then we will also try to run this on lead code, so that, okay, so now this is working fine, okay, 0 2, that is what the expected output is. And now let me just bring back my browser window again, and let's go back to the lead code problem, okay. So this is a lead code problem, okay, and I have already tried to execute this code, okay. Let me just make it maximize a little bit, okay. So now if you see the code, right, it is the exact same code, and this is the lead code problem, okay, you can find it. Now let me just try to run this first, and let's see if it is working fine or not. So all test cases are passed, and now let's try to submit it so that it tries to run with larger pool of inputs, okay. So you can see it is able to pass all 63 by 63 test cases, that is fine. So this is the first coding challenge, okay. Now let's move to the next one and understand what is the next problem statement. So if I scroll down a little bit, okay, you can read this problem, that is divisible pairs count, okay, similar to previous, obviously, like this is a similar problem. So this is the problem statement: write a function divide a pair that counts the number of pairs in. And so this is the problem number 3, and I expect you that you will be able to solve this particular problem again, because this problem is quite similar to the one which we discussed, okay. So take it up as an assignment, and I hope that you will be able to solve, okay. And you can read the problem statement over here and also understand the input and output. I will share this document in the description section of the video so that you can access this one and try to solve it. If you solve this problem, then definitely share a solution, we will discuss, okay. So I will be definitely sharing this particular PDF document in the video description, you can find it, okay. I will also share my SDET interview question bank, okay, that I've already been sharing on my LinkedIn network. So if you haven't looked at it, then I would definitely encourage you to purchase that one, because it contains more than 1200 questions for SDET interviews, ranging from automation to API testing to performance testing, Docker, CI/CD, SDET coding interview questions. There are a lot of things. So if you are a beginner or someone who just wants to learn about how does an interview happens, so you can purchase that one. I will share that also in the description, so you can take a look at it. So let's meet in the next video. Bye bye. Take care.